Well, it's 7:31. Nothing really starts on time with the church, if we're being honest. So welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Gordon Gregg, and I am from Ishpeming Wesley, and I am the young adult representative on the Board of Laity. On behalf of the Michigan Conference Board of Laity, I would like to thank you for taking time out of your day to get your questions answered regarding our upcoming 2021 Virtual Michigan Annual Conference. If you'd bow your heads with me and join us in a little time of opening prayer. Dear God, thank you for bringing all these people here via Zoom, that we are able to be with each other across the state of Michigan and across the United States. I hope that you join us here today as we work on learning about Zoom webinars, and about annual conference coming up. I welcome to enter peace into here and grace, and that everyone has a wonderful time and learns a lot of things. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
So an email was sent out a few days ago with a link to a bingo card. Hopefully you're able to print it out. If not, maybe you can just mark down on a separate sheet of paper. The link will be posted in the chat as well. This is intended to be a fun way to follow along with some of the key words covered today. Potential words will be shared in the chat screen as they come up, so don't worry if you miss them while you're listening, and be aware one word has already been posted. When you get a bingo, simply post bingo in the chat. We accept 4 corners and 5 in a row. I'd like to introduce you to Sydney, who will cover some of the Zoom meeting basics. So take it away, Sydney.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cindy Rossman from Brown City United Methodist Church, and I am co-lay leader for the East Winds District. Let's review a couple of Zoom housekeeping items. To minimize noise on the session while listening, it might be best to mute yourself until called upon. Just hit mute, unmute in the lower left corner of your Zoom screen. If you haven't had the chance to update your Zoom name with the name you prefer to be used, your church name, and if the church name does not identify that, include that too. So you can see a sample of that in the chat. You can access that by moving the mouse to the upper right corner of your personal video display, your picture, and clicking on the 3 dots, and in the down drop, select rename and type in your updated information. Having your full name helps us to send you any follow-up information after this session. If you prefer to see a larger picture of the speaker, you can select speaker view in the upper right corner of your Zoom window. You may need to reset this after we do some screen sharing. After each key section, we will pause to take questions, or you can enter them in the chat, which can be found by moving your mouse to the lower portion of your screen. Our primary goal is to ensure you leave today with your questions regarding annual conference answered. So, are there any questions specific to finding things on your Zoom screen? Okay.
So far, Cindy, we haven't had any posted specifically in the chat session, so I think we can continue.
Okay. Well, we are thrilled to have so many joining us this evening. Due to the number of participants and to ensure we have sufficient time to cover all the key information to fully prepare you for annual conference, we will not be doing introduction of attendees. I'm now going to turn over our next portion to Ruby.
Thank you. I want to make sure that I'm unmuted. Thank you, Cindy. I'm Ruby Anderson, and I am from Scott Memorial United Methodist Church in Detroit. I am the lay leader for the Greater Detroit District and the lay leader for Scott Memorial. Since you all have the ability to vote at annual conference, and that will be done via polling within Zoom, we felt it would be a good practice to do that now. Our first poll is a question regarding the purpose of annual conference. You'll see a pop-up appear on your screen, and you can choose more than one correct answer. Choose which of these you feel best describes the purpose of annual conference, and then press submit. We'll give you 20 to 30 seconds to review and respond. If you don't see the poll, let us know. It should be noted that the annual conference, many votes will require only one choice. Either you agree or disagree with what's before the annual conference. Laura, are we ready to close the poll?
I think we're going to give it just a little bit longer.
Okay,
We have
thank
still
you.
people replying.
All righty, great.
We're getting there. They're coming in. They're coming in.
Okay. My 30 seconds may have been short. Short 30 seconds, 20. Okay, no problem.
And it's our first one, so everybody's, if they haven't had a chance to do polling
Right,
before, you're getting a
right.
chance to
Laura,
learn
just
it. And this will
Exactly.
be the same thing that'll pop up on your screen when you're at annual conference and we have to do voting. So it's good practice. And you'll get a couple other times to practice tonight too.
All right, we'll give it 5 more seconds.
Okay, doke.
Can anything be done to increase the volume?
Is it my volume? Can you hear me? Oh, this is Ruby.
I don't hear anybody really well.
Do you have a volume? I don't know what device you're using. Do you have a volume?
I've already turned up
Hmm.
way up to 100% on my computer.
Okay. So I'm not sure.
In the lower left corner, there's a mute and unmute button. If you look, if there's a little caret or arrow, if you go to that arrow, you will find an option called, let me see what it's called exactly, audio settings. And if you click on that, you can scroll across and make your audio louder, your individual audio louder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thanks. That might be helpful.
Yeah, that was good. You should see speaker is what it shows up on mine. It's the top bar and there's a little banner bar there with a blue dot on it on mine that sees where the volume is. And if you bring that up towards the top, then it should increase it. If you're already at the top, then unfortunately, we probably don't have any other helpful aids.
I'll try to speak up, speak a little closer to my mic just so maybe you can hear me better.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the polling.
Okay, great. Let's take a look at how you responded. Oh, okay. Varying answers. And many correct. After seeing the answers, are there any questions to raise at this time? You have any questions? You can physically raise your hand and we will call on you. As a reminder, you can also go to the chat and put your information in. No questions? Okay, thank you.
Just a minute, Ruby. We had one question that
Oh, we have one
came
question,
in.
John? Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
from Matt of Grass Lake. He said, will there be an abstain choice for the votes if it's something we don't have a decision on?
Good question. That's a good question, Matt. John, what do you say to that?
I'm not sure. I don't know if Diane Brown has had a chance to join us yet, or maybe Laura, you might know. Otherwise, we'll have to wait on that.
But that's an excellent question to abstain, right? Because usually, as we said earlier, you have a choice, disagree or agree, but abstaining is definitely a
Yep.
choice too.
We'll definitely follow up on that. We also had
Yeah.
someone that brought this up. This came up the last time. You'll see one of the lines on the screen is kind of a burnt orange or a red. that just indicates which one of the responses here received the most responses. You can see that one received 87%, and the next closest one was at 75%. So that's just a feature of Zoom. I'm not sure if the Zoom capabilities that the annual conference is using, it'll show up the same, but very likely it might be that the top choice is colored differently.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm only on the audio, so I'm not on the Zoom picture screen, and I guess I should have probably done that, but I wasn't aware that I had to do that tonight. Will there be another chance, like Monday on the 31st, to learn some of these things on the actual screen?
Yeah, I believe that on that training, that's very specific to Zoom. And so they'll walk through
Okay.
those voting pieces during that time too.
Okay, I guess when I got the email that I was looking at, it gave me the option of just calling in by phone, and I'm going to have to go to the church to do the actual Zoom, so that's why I'm not on there tonight.
Well, we're glad you're on, to listen and ask the questions, so thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Okay, I'll unmute now.
Okay, all right.
One other thing that came up, and we'll talk about this again in just a little bit, but someone asked, Mary Watson asked, where can we find the recording following this meeting? And there will be an email sent out tomorrow from Laura that will either contain the link to this, or she'll send it out very shortly. She may not have it fully uploaded then, so you'll be able to watch it at that point in time.
Thank you, John. Okay. Well, now that we understand the important role annual conference plays, let's ensure that we have an equal understanding of the role for you as a lay member to annual conference. Again, we will see a poll question pop up. Take a look and select all answers that you feel represent the role of a lay member to annual conference. Again, we'll give you 20 to 30 seconds. When you've selected all the answers you feel are correct, be sure to click submit.
Just being contrary.
Votes are coming in. We're getting there. We'll wait just a couple more seconds.
I was counting slower this time, so I got almost 30 seconds. Let us know, Laura, though.
Yeah, we are very close. I think I'll give it 5 more seconds. All right, so I'm going to close the polling.
Okay, so let's close the poll and see how everyone responded. Okay, let's look. Let's take a look. Okay, we've got 89% on the first question, and we've got 96 though participants in your conference sessions and vote on legislation. 96.6, very good. So we can see that there's information in various questions. Any additional questions regarding the role of lay members? Any additional questions in the chat?
At this time, Ruby, I think we're caught up with any questions that I've seen on the chat.
Okay, very good, very good. Now, as we transition to how you need to prepare for annual conference, I'm going to turn it back over to Gordon. Gordon, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Ruby. So let's dig a little deeper in ways that you can be fully prepared for annual conference. The most important way is to read any preparatory emails you might receive from the conference, your pastor, or district lay leader. Additionally, you should check the 2021 conference website frequently. You will see a link posted in the chat box, and we will demonstrate where to find key items on that site shortly. We will also email a summary of all links referenced after the presentation, so don't worry if you don't capture them all. So Laura will now share her screen and pull up the 2021 Michigan Conference landing page. via the link we just shared. A key area to visit is under preparation and annual conference materials. Is anyone not seeing the page Laura shared? It has large print documents also across the top. All right, I'm guessing everyone's able to see it, so we won't go into detail on the whole page, but we want to highlight what is located here. As Laura scrolls down, the first section in the middle is resolutions to the annual conference. You will find all resolutions planned to be brought before the annual conference here. We'll cover this a little bit more in a later time. Next is the 2022 annual budget, which will be voted on. At the bottom of this column is the nominations report, which will be available May 27th. This represents those who will be serving on conference committees and will be voted on. Please become familiar, and if you have any questions, to be prepared to ask those during annual conference. Moving to the top right of this page, the first item is Rules of Order, Plan of Organization. This is what governs and how we carry out business. Do familiarize yourself, and no doubt the bishop will refresh us during the conference. Next is Volume 1, Historical Reports. These are an excellent summary of what the agencies across Michigan Conference have been doing. Review and share this information with various leaders in your congregation. And finally, the statistician report, which includes key items from the table every church submitted at the beginning of each year. So you realize that there's a lot of information that I just went over. Is there any questions that come to mind right now?
Actually, I have one. Am I supposed to be seeing this in my booklet that I just got yesterday? This page you're showing?
So the page we're showing right now is the website.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now I do know that the book sent out has the legislation and stuff that's being brought to annual conference, but this is a great central location to get information for annual conference.
I just was busily looking in my book and I didn't see it, so thank you.
No problem.
Harper, this is Tom
Could you
Scott.
please read the website name again?
Sure. So the website, it's also listed in the chat, but the website is 2021.michiganumc.org.
Thank you.
No problem.
Gordon, this is Tom from Marlette. Is all the information available with the exception of the one PDF that won't be available till the 27th?
I am 99% sure that everything is available. Personally, I haven't gone through the website and looked at everything, but I have trust in our annual conference staff that they have uploaded everything besides the nominations report.
Thank you.
All right, if we don't have any other questions, we'll keep going. So you should be receiving a program guide in the mail, which somebody just referenced that they got theirs yesterday. It should include the daily schedule, order of worship for each service, legislation, annual conference offerings, and envelope for giving. It also has bios of the guest preachers and teachers, candidate bios, and conference details. If you need something else from the website printed prior to annual conference and do not have access to a printer, we suggest working with your church to obtain printed materials. If you do not receive a program guide, please post program guide and your address in the chat, and we'll see if we can get one expedited to you. To ensure that you have appropriately reserved your calendar, let's review the annual conference schedule. You will see that being highlighted on the screen. And now we will take you to the actual calendar page. Note that the other Zoom training, legislative committees, opening worship, and everything falls within a 9 to 5 type day. All business will be completed by 5 p.m. on Saturday. During the Friday afternoon business of annual conference, there will be a separate time for a corporate session. This is led by the conference trustees and deals with conference property, business, as well as honoring churches that are closing or may already have. You will be voting on approval of these churches and any other business items that are brought before us. As key decision makers of the Michigan Annual Conference, it is vital that you do your very best to attend each session you are scheduled to attend. Other than lay members of the Board of the Ordained Ministry, lay members will not be able to attend the clergy session as it is not an open session. Is there any questions regarding the schedule?
And I guess I'll just interrupt you there, Gordon. We've had our first several bingo. So I'll go back here. Looks like we've had several now, which is good. Doug Wood was the first one to call out bingo. I guess, Doug, if you would maybe reference a couple of the words that you had on there and anything that stuck out to you as their first winner.
Oh, thank you. Sure. I am one of those people that really enjoys annual conference. And so the one that stood out to me is the statistician's report. As a statistician geek, and that's one of my favorite reports. So.
Good. And then we had Brian Callahan was our second one. Brian, any of the words there that you got bingo with stood out to you?
MichiganUMC.org. That's where I can find all the information, right?
You got it. Yep, a great tool to have, and we'll recognize our third one here as we recognize that, and then we'll be good with bingo. It's pretty consistent both times. We've had bingo at about this time of the night. Abby Fleming from Belleville. Any words there that's stuck out to you?
I had both annual conference and lay member, and this is my first annual conference, so both of those are important to me.
Well, great. Well, feel free. We won't call out any other bingo winners in the essence of time, but if you like to shout it out when you get it, put it in the chat and celebrate. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Gordon.
All right. Now that we've gone through a couple other key activities on the schedule, I will turn it over to Sydney.
Thanks, Gordon. We want to highlight the laity event on Thursday, June 3rd, from 4 to 6 p.m. We have a dynamic speaker, Derek Scott, sharing insights that will inspire all laity to recognize the critical role they play in the United Methodist Church. Links will be available to share with others, as this is not limited to just those registered for annual conference. They will be able to watch via a live stream from the conference website on Facebook, from the conference website or Facebook page. Additionally, it will be recorded so you can share the link afterwards with leaders in your congregation. Now, let me draw your attention to Sunday, June 6th. There is time blocked off for churches to be involved in a virtual 5K for relief of child hunger and food insecurity. This is an opportunity for United Methodists across the state to dedicate time to support their communities by raising awareness about food insecurity. Again, connect with your pastor to create a plan for your church. If you know, it would be great to hear from some of you what your churches are planning. Please raise your hand and I'll call on you, or post in the chat. Do we have any? I don't see any. Okay. For our next exercise, you might prefer to have your Zoom view set to gallery, where you can see all the participants in their little Zoom box. That can be found in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Since the annual conference will be hosted as a Zoom webinar, can I see a show of hands of how many people will have been on what is called a Zoom webinar? I see quite a few hands.
6 pages of people.
Oh, jeez.
Well, good. You then likely are aware of how different a webinar is from what you are experiencing now. We'll still touch on some key differences. First, this session is not a Zoom webinar, simply a Zoom meeting. With a Zoom webinar, you will not know who all the participants are, like you see in the participants list. You can't private message with participants. In fact, you won't be on video at all. You will be able to raise questions. Excuse me. In fact, you won't be on video at all. Only those in the space Bishop Bard is at will be seen on video. You will be able to raise questions, be recognized, and then address a question through either via a question and answer feature or using your microphone once recognized by the conference. Please note that you should have received an email asking you to register for your own Zoom link in order to participate and access annual conference. Each link for members of annual conference is unique for voting purposes. Has everyone gotten an email with their instructions on how to register for their Zoom webinar and full access to annual conference? If not, post "need Zoom registration" in the chat, and we will follow up to ensure that gets emailed to you. If you still feel additional insights on how to navigate Zoom during annual conference would be helpful, Mark Doyle has put together an excellent 6-minute video that covers key details outlined in your mailed program booklet. You will see the link to that video posted in the chat. If after reviewing this video and the information in the program guide, and you feel you need more information, you can register for a 30-minute training session that will be held Monday, May 31st at 7 p.m. You must register for this to get the link specific to the training. That link to register is now posted in the chat. If Zoom just isn't cooperating during annual conference, there is a phone number you can call for live technical troubleshooting help. It has been posted in the chat and can be found in your program booklet. So let's pause and see what questions you have on how a Zoom webinar is different from the normal Zoom session or in any of the available Zoom trainings. So I see we have the phone number in our chat. Are there any questions?
Looks like we have a couple of people that need the to register for Zoom. And if you haven't done that yet, we just learned today that we need to have that completed tomorrow. So I think so far I've seen 3 people that have said they would like to have that forwarded on. So after this meeting, we'll make sure that we get an email out to you that contains that link, and it will need to be completed tomorrow.
Does that look like it for the questions?
Let me get to the bottom here. Got a couple more that have come in that need the Zoom registration. And I would agree with Annette. She had posted, I watched the Mark Doyle video. As always, he does an excellent job and goes through things, and it's just 6 minutes. So it's very comprehensive on what you need to do, and it goes along very well with what you got in your program booklet also, and helps to kind of just solidify the information that's there.
Oh, I think I'm already registered. How may I confirm? Would,
The easiest way to confirm would be to send an email, I believe, to Sarah Volmer. Laura, if you have her email handy that you could post in the chat, I don't have that right in front of me. That would be great.
and I believe
I
it
will
would
do
be
that.
Sarah Bulmer. I contacted her today regarding someone that needed legislation information. Okay. Well, now that we've covered most of the key items about the role of annual conference, your role as a lay member, and the key items covered at annual conference, I would like to turn it over to Ruby, who will cover what you need to do once annual conference is completed. And now Ruby.
Did we lose Ruby?
Yes, I think we lost Ruby. I don't see
Okay.
her on the list.
Okay, well, I'll follow in. I'm John Sepinen. I've been offering some of the commentary here. I'm from Marshall United Methodist Church and the Heritage Lay Leader. You can tell we've covered a lot of information so far, and I bet you're all going. I'm glad that you're going to be done once Saturday, June 5th is complete, other than participating in the virtual 5K. Well, if you're thinking that, you're wrong. We learned earlier in the poll question that we did that one of the key roles of the lay member at annual conference is to report back to their congregation. Think about how you have seen or not seen that done in your congregation and see how many are listed in this poll question that you will now see. What are some of the ways you've seen reported out after annual conference at your congregation? And some of you maybe are new to your congregation and you haven't seen any. So that's fine. Pick any of those. You can pick any that apply or all of them that apply. And we'll give you a little more time here and we'll let Laura
I
understand
have
where
no
we're at.
idea. This is Ruby. I have no idea where we are right now. I got kicked out.
That's okay.
John?
We're down at order number 143 would be the next thing.
Okay, you're at 143. So somebody has already said what I was going to say.
Yep, we filled in for you.
Okay,
We're
all
a
right,
team
thank you.
together here. We're helping each other out.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I'm glad that I was able to get back in. My apologies. Not sure what happened. So let's see the results. We have the results of that last poll.
Yep, I was just giving it a couple more seconds here. We got
Okay.
a few
All
more
right.
coming in, but we're close. We're close.
Okay. Very good. Very
We'll
good. Thank you.
do 5 more seconds. All right, I'm going to close the polling.
All righty. 84.7%, the highest there on that one, reporting during worship. Good. Okay, we've had that.
Yeah, there's a lot of unique ways, and I guess we have 7% of the people here. So with over 120 some people, that's like 10 or 11 that says no one has shared that I can remember, which is not good. So make sure that if this is your first time, work with your pastor and anybody else that might be attending from your area to come up with a way to report out any of those. If you've got a newsletter is good. Share some of the daily news during the annual conference. If you've got a Facebook page that you can do that, do some report outs to the committees or do something during worship. So.
Right. And may I say also, John, that sometimes pastors do a brief reporting where you might not know it's an annual conference report because they are members of the annual conference and they do a brief report. And sometimes lay members report in their church council or their church conference settings and not in the congregation. So some may have seen it done that way. Just be aware of that. But still, you would want talk to your pastor. Remember that these are decisions that impact our conference for the upcoming year and beyond. So it's key that you share what you've learned. Any other ideas or comments or questions regarding reporting at annual conference? Did we have any in the chat, John? Anything new?
No, I think we're caught up at this point in time with items in the chat.
Okay, very good, very good. Thank you. So how many of you are experts at Robert's Rules of Order? Simply raise your hand if you are. Just raise your hand in the, okay. How many do we see, John?
Well, it's kind of impossible to tell with this many people on. So I'm
Okay,
sure
but-
we've
but
got a
you-
handful that are,
Okay,
but a
good.
handful that aren't.
But no worries if you're not. Good to see that. Although annual conference is overseen by Robert's Rules of Order, the bishop will walk us through the fundamentals and graciously lead us along the correct path. So don't worry if you're not an expert. And many of us, you know, we know about it, but we may not be experts. I know we promised you earlier that we would cover some additional details regarding legislation. So to do that, I'm going to turn it back over to Gordon. And forgive me for skipping out. Okay, thank you.
You're totally fine. Thank you, Ruby. So, how many of you realize that you are going to be able to debate, discuss, amend, and vote on legislation just like our representatives in Lansing or Washington? If you knew that, raise your hand. It's like a lot of you knew that. So we're going to do a screen share again and pull up the legislation page for you to see at a high level what we'll be discussing and voting on. So as Laura scrolls, you'll be able to see that we have 20 legislative items to cover. Some of these will come before the plenary, which means the entire body of the annual conference, while others will be perfected within a legislative committee session. Please familiarize yourself with each piece of legislation and pray for guidance and wisdom on how you might vote on or what questions you might need answer at conference before you finalize your vote decision. You should have received an email notification of which legislative committee you'll participate in either Tuesday or Wednesday evening on June 1st or June 2nd. These are simply small gatherings of groups that work together to perfect these pieces of legislation before they are discussed before the entire conference. This will be the first time legislative committees are held virtually, so it'll be a learning experience for all. Again, it is very important that you attend your legislative committee session. You will likely hear different perspectives than what you thought about before or realize that many of your fellow attendees have a similar viewpoint. Remember, no legislation will be covered by more than one committee. But in order for any legislation to be fully adopted, it must come before the full body for consideration. Finally, you will only be invited to one legislative session. You can attend that session and you cannot switch sessions even if you have a scheduling conflict. If you'd like to learn more about the legislative process, how that works, there's a light-hearted video called One Cookie at a Time. The video that we can all relate to. The link is in the chat box again, and it'll be shared with a follow-up email. So is there any questions regarding legislation?
Actually, I have one. Margaret Goodrich.
All right, what's your question?
Well, I think I was assigned to number 8. And so I can understand that you're only on one, but what if you have a particular interest in one of the things that are going to be voted on?
You're still going to get to vote.
Well, I know, but he just got through saying that you're going to learn more things when you talk in your little legislative thing. So I guess we were arbitrarily assigned to these different groups. Is that it?
That is correct.
Yeah, they were randomly assigned, and in order to make sure that people don't try to stack one legislative session or another, they're just random. You can't reassign yourself.
Okay.
There will be, chances are if you have questions, and they will come back before the plenary, and then you can raise the questions that you have before you have a chance to vote on them. There might be a case where something is voted totally down and not brought before, or might be determined to be unconstitutional and not brought before the session. That means it's not going to get anything further action taken on it. But even if it goes on to, and we didn't cover that on a consent calendar, you can still go ahead and raise a question about it, and enough people support that, then it would come before the entire plenary session to be voted on. So there are opportunities, even though you may not get all the full benefit of that hour time that you have together in the legislative session.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question, though, Margaret. And I know that's a concern that others have raised in the past.
This is Diane Brown. I might be able to help address a couple of these questions if you'd like, if this is an appropriate time.
Yeah, that'd be great, Diane.
Okay, great. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the legislative coordinator for the annual conference and have been for a few years. I'm a lay member and I attend Chelsea First. I am also a member of the General Conference delegation and have been for 4 delegations. The question about wanting to listen in on another legislative committee. Yes, don't we wish we were in person again? We were able to accommodate, if you will, visitors in legislative committees when we met together in person, because we could establish a bar, we could establish a space that was for visitors who did not have voice and vote and were simply listening. Unfortunately, in this first year of attempting to do this virtually with legislative committees, only persons who have voice and or vote will be authorized to attend a legislative committee. So you won't be able to sit in on those. You might keep in mind that if, according to our rules, as we work to perfect a resolution in legislative committee, if it passes by 90% or more, it will show up on the consent calendar, and we will see that consent calendar in one more piece, one more document that will be posted to our website as well as emailed to you. That won't come out until Thursday night of conference, and that's called the Legislative Committee Report. If you're a veteran of going to annual conference, you might remember we refer to this as the yellow pages. That consent calendar will come first in the plenary by Bishop Bard. And you can have an opportunity to ask questions or to make a motion to remove an item from the consent calendar for additional discussion. Then on Saturday of annual conference in our business sessions, we will address those pieces of legislation that did not pass by 90% or more. Maybe they passed by 75%, or maybe they didn't pass in legislative committee. Those will come before the full plenary on Saturday, and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions, hear speeches for and against, potentially make amendments. So there will be opportunity for additional information then. One of the questions, how will the perfected motions get shared? We will be emailing that out to everyone as well as posting that on the website. And if you look in your email from earlier this month, you would have received an assignment to a legislative committee. If you believe you did not receive that assignment, then you could again contact our registrar, Sarah Vollmer. One of the earlier questions in this session tonight had to do with this polling and voting. The polls that we had tonight, I believe all of them were multiple choice. Most of the polling that will take place in legislative committee and in our plenary sessions will not be multiple choice. It will simply be yes or no. Do you approve the motion that is before you? Yes or no? Some of you asked about abstentions. If you read Robert's rules carefully, and if you read the definition of abstention, it really means a very, very narrow definition. It really means that somehow I, as a voting person, have a conflict of interest for this particular vote. For example, maybe we're voting on Diane Brown is the best legislative coordinator the Michigan Annual Conference has ever had. Well, Diane Brown shouldn't be voting on that particular motion, right? Because I have a conflict of interest. But we don't count abstentions. It's not part of our voting process. So most everything voting for legislation will be a yes or a no. I think I addressed most of those questions that were in chat. Are there any others?
That's great, Diane. Thanks. I think the one other one that someone asked was, is the description listed in the booklet the same as that appears on the website for like the legislative items?
The list and the resolutions are the same in the book as they are on the website, with one exception, and that is the page numbers. What's listed on the website is just the voting items packet, if you find that part of it. If you find the booklet, it contains those voting items, but the page numbers have been changed because it also has a great number of other things in that book. Great question.
Good. Great. I think Diane answered all the questions that we had there, unless someone else would like to unmute themselves and share something or ask a question.
Question.
Go ahead.
If you were assigned, say, Legislative Committee 7, and you're on page 5, and there's another Legislative 7 that's on page 12, how would you know which one you're on?
Hold on just one second. Sorry, I was coming in off the road. My apologies. Okay, if you're looking at Legislative Committee 7, and you would want to look at the bottom of, if you will, the table of contents, which if you're looking on the website, it's page 2. And I'm sorry, my book is not right here at my computer. I think it might be page 12 or 13, perhaps. And if you look toward the bottom, it says Legislative Committee. So that Legislative Committee number 7 meets on Tuesday, June 1st at 8 p.m. And it will address 2 different resolutions. It will address Resolution 2021-5 and 2021-14. So there aren't 2 committee 7s, but Committee 7 is addressing 2 resolutions. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I'm looking at the booklet, but I don't see. I'll have to go through and research it again, because I read.
If you look at page 14, thank you,
Yeah.
Laura, for sharing that. Look at page 14 in your book, and you'll see a list of all 20 resolutions. And below those 20 resolutions, you'll see the Legislative Committee assignments.
Okay, I don't have the book. What I did, I printed it off the website.
Okay, so look at page 2 of the voting items booklet.
Right.
It lists all 20, and it also says LC and a number to the right of each title.
Correct.
And then if you look toward the bottom, you'll see that I compiled them. So I took the ones that would have said LC7 and I put those right next to LC7, and you have resolutions 2021-5 and 2021-14.
Correct. Got it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure that others had that kind of question as well.
Great. Thanks again, Diane, for joining us with your expertise. Much appreciated.
I think that motion that I made, though, should pass.
You've gotten one vote on the chat, so unanimous. Gordon, we'll give it back to you.
All right, well, I want to say thank you to Diane Brown for answering our questions. And we are finally in the home stretch. So I want to thank you all for sticking in and doing this. To cover a couple of final items, I'm going to hand it back over to Sydney.
Thanks, Gordon. We wanted to share with you additional resources you can leverage the entire year. Members of the Michigan Board of Laity, which include each district's lay leader, they are shared on your screen now. Additionally, there are representatives from conference staff, the appointive cabinet, and key representative of other vital areas within the conference, like lay servant ministries, young adult, youth, United Methodist Men, United Methodist Women, Scouting on the Board of Laity. You can see these members on your screen now. We will send these slides out to you in a follow-up email. So that covers the key pieces that we had intended. Let's do a time check. If we have some time left, we will open it up to additional questions. Plus, we'll check and see what was mentioned in the chat box.
I think at this time, Cindy, we have answered, I believe, all the questions in the chat. If I happen to miss some, because with this group, it's been interesting to keep up on all the chats. But if you have something, feel free to unmute yourself and raise that. We've still got a couple minutes.
John, this is Diane. If I could respond to one that's in here, I think it's helpful for a lot of people. If an amendment is made to a resolution, where will that amendment be found? The amendment likely would start out, at least for 16 of these resolutions, it would be, to begin with, made in the committee. And if it's approved in the committee, then it will be included in the legislative committee report, which will be emailed to all registrants on Thursday of annual conference after we're completed with all 8 of our legislative committees. It will also be posted on the website. And then when that resolution as amended comes before the annual conference plenary, it would have an opportunity to be amended again. And at that point, what you'll be able to see it up on the screen that will be shared by the tech people when we're addressing that in the plenary. We also are making an effort in our legislative committees on that Tuesday and Wednesday night to be able to share screen and be able to type the amendments as they are made when we are in committee. So you'll have a few different options. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, thanks, Diane, for that. I know it sounded like we had a question maybe from Carol or Ann, maybe had their hand raised. Otherwise, we've had a question here from Jan. Please go over again as to how we get into annual conference.
I'm assuming how we get in means through Zoom. So There was a two-step process to registration. The second step was to register for your Zoom link. You should have received your Zoom link. If you have not, email Sarah Volmer, whose email we've put in the chat a few times, and she should be able to help you find that Zoom link.
Okay.
Question.
We have a question.
Go
from
ahead, Margaret.
Sorry, I seem to have all the questions, but I did attend my first virtual conference last year, and we had a separate paper that we had to also mark our votes on and send it in. Has that been eliminated? Because I don't have for instance, in this booklet, I haven't found where the churches that might be closing, that we had to vote on that, and I don't see it in here. So I wonder where that's going to be, if there are any that are going to be closing that we have to vote on.
Diane, would you like to answer that?
Sure, I can do that. Thank you. It's a great question. We will not have to have paper ballots this year. So you will not find one of those in your mailing. In your mailing, you'll find an envelope to return your offering for conference, as well as the booklet. All voting will take place on Zoom. And the specific question that you asked about in terms of churches that might be closing, those will be presented during what is called the corporate session. And it's a few minutes in the afternoon, and I'm going to forget what day. And Bishop Bard adjourns, if you will, or recesses, excuse me, annual conference. And then the chair of the Board of Trustees takes over as the presiding officer, and he conducts the annual conference corporate session. It will be in the corporate session where the Board of Trustees will list what churches they are putting forth that we will need to vote upon who might be leaving our conference. And we will do so again by polling through Zoom.
Is that going to be listed on the website though, the churches? Because last year I looked them up and kind of tried to research them before I voted.
That's a really great question. I mean, several of these churches that are usually presented by the Board of Trustees already have closed. And this is a matter of formality. It's not really a matter of philosophy.
Okay, I guess I
Maybe
didn't
I'll put it that way.
understand that part.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's we're accepting the action and recommendation of the Board of Trustees.
Okay, okay.
So again, we would have a unanimous yes or no vote only, not individual churches. Is that right?
I don't know about unanimous, and we'll just have to follow along as to how the chair of the Board of Trustees conducts that portion of the meeting.
Good. Well, knowing that we're just about approaching 8:30, Cindy, if you want to take us into the final set there, and if you do have any questions, post them in the chat and we'll follow up with you afterwards.
You have been an amazing group. I know that with your involvement in the 2021 Michigan Annual Conference, we will continue to serve our churches and community well. Now, to offer a few closing words and prayer, I will turn it over to our conference lay leader, Annette Herbs. Annette?
Thank you, Cindy. Hello, everyone. I just want to point out to you that when you do get your program book in the mail, take the time to read through all those pages. There are some very helpful pages in there, pages that talk about the annual conference offering, arriving at virtual annual conference, that reviews some things. Also more Zoom instructions, and also 4 ways to address the presiding officer online. It doubles with some of the information on Mark Doyle's video that he has placed, the 6-minute video we referred to. But do read over the pages in your program booklet because I think you will find that helpful. So thanks again, everyone, for taking on this key role of being a lay member to annual conference. We hope this session has helped to provide a sense of hope as we all prepare to sing the Lord's song the week of May 31st at our virtual 2021 Michigan Annual Conference. As a reminder, we will send the links contained in the chat out after this session, along with the link to the recording. So if you would like to rewatch part of this, you can. Now I would invite you to join me in a closing prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for blessing us in this gathering this evening. We are grateful to all here who have been called as your servants to be members of the Michigan Annual Conference. Continue to guide and bless us as we prepare our hearts and minds for conference and the opportunity as Michigan United Methodists to sing your song together. We pray for Bishop Bard, the Commission on the Annual Conference session, and clergy and lay members as we gather soon to do your work. May our time together be one of joyous melody and praise to you, O God. Amen.
Yeah.
I would like to close with a heartfelt thank you to the members of the Board of Laity who have led us so faithfully this evening. And thank you, lay members to Annual Conference, for your time and commitment. If other questions or needs arise, please feel free to email me. I've put my email address in the chat box, or you can also email your district lay leader, and we will be glad to assist you or will reach out to someone who is able to. So thank you all for being with us this evening. Go now in peace.
Amen.